Hey everybody, welcome to another Rackspace Office Hours Hangout. My name is Alan Bush and that's Drew Cox.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, we're live at the Castle, Rackspace's headquarters here in San Antonio, Texas. We're live from the K-Rack studios again for another week, so a big thanks to everybody that's letting us use this better equipment. We really appreciate that. And we've got a special guest with us who hopefully isn't too unfamiliar to regular viewers of the show. This is John Engates, our
Hey, everybody.
CTO. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We always love having you on, and this is really one of my favorite episodes that we do. Is we've done this, I think, 3 years in a row now, where we've talked about predictions for the coming year. So, really excited to get into those and talk about those a little bit more. Real quick, I just want to welcome anybody that's viewing. If you have any questions and want to ask them, you can do that in a couple of different ways. If you're watching on Google Plus, there's a question and answer application that you can just drop those questions right into it, and we'll get those and answer them for you as they come in. The other option that you can do is you can actually use the hashtag CloudQA. And we'll catch that on Twitter, and we'll go ahead and ask it here as we go along. But let's go ahead and let's just jump into it. So you wrote a blog post, published it at the end of last year, and you had 5 different predictions for the year, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we can talk about them. This is something we do every year. It's something that we do really to just sort of set the stage for what we think is coming in the new year, help our customers and Rackspace align our vision and our future, and it's based on what we hear from customers. So
Right.
This isn't things that we go off in a room and dream up necessarily. It's things that we identify as trends. These are things that our customers are telling us. We spend a lot of time with customers at Rackspace, and we keep our ears open for things that they're interested in and excited about, and then we combine a lot of that with with what we do believe will happen or will start to happen. And then we put it together in a blog post, and we share that out, and it drives a lot of conversations, and that's the goal. So hopefully this is a good one today.
That's what we're interested in, is driving
Yeah.
conversations and sharing with the broader audience.
So certainly one of the things that I recognized, and we all probably recognize, is that the world is becoming more and more digital. And I don't mean just ones and zeros digital. I mean things are going online. Things are being connected. Things are becoming more like computers than they used to be. Most technologies that you buy today, probably many of us got Christmas presents or holiday gifts or whatever that probably had some sort of connection to the cloud, probably had a Internet of Things aspect to it. And that's happening in every industry, every vertical market, every category. And one of the things that there was a firm called IDC, they're an analyst firm, and
Right.
they recognized that this digital transformation that's going on is scaling up. It's not just startups anymore that are driving this. These are bigger companies. These bigger companies are oftentimes moving from a legacy world where they've had IT that's been built up over 20 or 30 years, now having to shift gears and move very quickly to a cloud future. They're having to adopt the public cloud in many cases to go out and build these mobile experiences or these digital experiences that their customers have come to expect. And with that, they're oftentimes adopting multiple clouds. One of my predictions, I don't know if I did it last year or this year, but it's really becoming more of a multi-cloud world. Historically, a startup would pick one cloud and kind of go all in with it. And more, the larger companies are deciding that probably doesn't make sense to go all in with one particular cloud platform. It probably makes more sense to spread your workloads across a number of clouds, and that's what we call multi-cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was last year.
Yeah,
that sounds like last year.
And we picked up on that
was...
this year, and we've kind of continued to pick up on what that means, that multi-cloud transition and that digital transformation. What does that mean to the broader world? One of the things that we've been seeing is a shortage of talent to help companies get there, help companies make that transition. Oftentimes there is one or two people on the team that may have some cloud expertise. You might get lucky and hire one, or somebody decides to go out and learn it on their own. But what typically happens is the smart cloud person on the team either gets poached to another company, or a startup comes along and gets them excited about what they could go do. And now you've gone from having made progress toward moving to the cloud. All of a sudden you're stuck back in first gear again. You've lost your momentum. You've lost your movement, and that motion is something that every company is really feeling the pressure to go But now it's like the pain that goes with that pressure
Right.
is, where do I get the talent? How do I find the expertise? How do I tap into the brain power needed to get me there?
Well, there's a growth in ideas and execution that people can find, a new way to solve an old problem
Right.
much easier today. I mean, in more traditional skill sets, someone finds a new way to do carpentry, it's going to kind of stay hidden, and people are going to have to go and train under that person who's developed a new approach. But now you can, stumble across something on a blog that someone's developing this new thing, or there's this new project that's solving a problem, and all of a sudden everybody wants to get on board.
Right.
But getting that expertise up and running is not as easy to do.
Yeah, and I think the choices in cloud technologies have just outstripped the expertise to make them work. You now have a world where there are number of cloud providers that are offering similar services, yet they're not exactly the same. So your expertise may not apply from one to the other perfectly. You've also got a proliferation of different data technologies, data stores, data management platforms, analytics platforms. It's no longer, just a world of Microsoft SQL or MySQL or, one or two relational databases. Now you've got these vast array of data stores that most companies are using multiple of. It's no longer a choice of just picking one and going all in with it. You got to pick multiple databases across those multiple clouds, and it just becomes a matrix of complexity that's very difficult to manage with one person or a small team. And that shortage of IT talent is showing up. Companies are feeling that pressure. Bigger companies are having to go out and spend more money on those people. Smaller companies are having to battle one another to find those folks and hold on to them. Some companies, Rackspace, Intel, another company that we work with, they're starting to try to grow that talent instead of going out and trying to look for it or uncover it or outbid somebody for it. It's now, let's go grow it. I mean, Rackspace has done a lot of work over the last few years on teaching the up and coming rackers, if you will, how to do cloud, how to be cloud engineers.
Yeah, the Open Cloud Academy is something that I think the city of San Antonio and Rackspace should be very proud of, and we've got several people that we work with right now that have graduated from that institution.
Absolutely,
and
very
they're,
powerful.
They're amazing rackers and great technologists, and it's a wonderful opportunity to, like you said, grow that talent locally. And
another thing we did, I mentioned Intel. We collaborated with Intel last year to launch the OpenStack Innovation Center. I'm too many opens.
Yeah, exactly.
OpenStack Innovation Center was launched as a way to grow OpenStack talent.
Yeah.
Basically, get developers on board onto the project quicker, onboard the engineering talent you're going to need to successfully deploy and manage that over time, and really just accelerate the creation of a better community, a stronger community around OpenStack. So that's another example. There are probably a dozen more that we can find out there in the market, but companies are starting to embrace the fact that this is where things are going. Let's get with it. Let's go grow that talent. Let's go build. I've heard a number of universities now starting to build up cloud programs where they used to just be computer science. Now it's kind of cloud science, if you will. I don't know if they're calling it that, but it really is the idea that we're shifting to that world, right?
Especially in an educational setting where you have, roughly 9 months out of the year, you're going to have students there. You don't want to have the overhead of having your equipment on site, or just everything spun up the whole time.
Well, I think San Antonio, beyond just the Open Cloud Academy, I mean, I'm seeing billboards for CodeUp that are everywhere, and all sorts of other online properties that are out there with a real incentive to educate people on development and new technologies. And I don't know if San Antonio is necessarily the leader, but in traveling to San Francisco, New York, and spending time in Austin and Houston, I really don't see that same attempt to grow as much as attract people who already have that talent. And so it's an exciting place to be with a burgeoning startup community.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that.
We'll give a little plug for our local university, University of Texas in San Antonio, UTSA we call it. UTSA actually launched something last year called the Open Cloud Institute, which is really a center of excellence around cloud technology and cloud research and utilizing cloud technologies in a variety of settings within the university. It's kind of a focal point for also attracting new faculty to the university to make sure that they've got the best and brightest, and then that brings in better quality of students as well in terms of people that want to learn on, and research on those technologies. So it's pretty exciting when you start to see that momentum build around where we're going to build that next wave of expertise and talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And UTSA is already also nationally recognized for their cybersecurity efforts.
Top in the nation, amazingly.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
really, really cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of a groundswell there, and I know we've tapped that for building up our own managed security offerings. So
Absolutely.
Very
well,
excited.
that dovetails into our next prediction nicely. So
well, there we go.
Good setup there.
Look at that segue.
So security is a very big topic. I mean, I cannot go to any conference or any customer advisory council or even just a meeting with a customer without the topic of security coming up somewhere,
absolutely.
because it's just in your face today. I mean, you turn on the news and you see somebody got hacked. You turn on you read the paper and you see that a government agency has been compromised, or somebody's email has been read. I read it yesterday. You know, the head of the National Security Advisory, I don't know what his role is, but his personal email account was hacked. His wife's Yahoo account was hacked. People were reading his private documents, and it's like really, really kind of everywhere today. And so security is on the top of mind for many of our customers. Whether they're small or large, it's something you can't ignore anymore, because it's out there. It's a threat. It's a persistent threat that's just kind of always on. And most of the companies that we come across, they don't have the sophistication or the budget or the resources to go fight that battle by themselves. They don't, they're not security companies. They're retailers, or they're plumbing company, or whatever it might be. And it's really hard for them to mount the defenses that they need.
Yeah. 5 years ago, probably, I was working at another company, and we were talking about security with a potential customer, and they were pretty worried about what were we doing to make sure that that everything was secure. And the thing that we said is, we are so concerned about your security that we have not just one person, not just two people, but we have entire teams of people who work around the clock to keep everything secure. And that's absolutely what we're doing here at Rackspace. That's what a lot of people are focusing on, is round the clock security and really being top of mind in everything, security at every single layer. Yep.
Well, to put a fine point on the prediction, it was really that we're going to start to see more security delivered as a service.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that obviously at Rackspace, but I travel a lot. I go out to the Bay Area. I spend time with some of the venture capital companies, and they say the same thing. Security will be delivered as a service. More and more startups that are entering the market, not to sell you an appliance or a device or a piece of software per se, but to really sell you a comprehensive managed service around a particular area of security weakness or a defense or something like that. And I think Rackspace is uniquely positioned. We are a cloud operator. We are a cloud provider. We're a hosting provider. We're a managed services provider. We manage security for our own, to keep our own house in order. And now we're taking a lot of that expertise and applying it to our customer environments as well, in the form of our new security practice that we launched.
Yeah.
And so this is us kind of executing on this prediction. But I think you'll see more and more companies out in the market also leading the way there as well.
Well, kind of an advantage I've seen with the scale that we have and with the types of partnerships that we have, there's a lot of as-a-service providers that have a real targeted niche. Like, we're really focused on DDoS mitigation. We're really focused on attacking the phishing problem, or any number of specific attack vectors. And with the types of relationships Rackspace has and the types of scale that we operate at and the reps that we get, bringing all those things together gives a nice holistic view to security, and being able to identify those new attack vectors as they come up and not let them slip too far before they get implemented and protected against goes a very long way. And so it was really exciting to see us launch the managed security offering. We had a partner palooza with all sorts of specific targeted security partners that came in and kind of showcased what they're doing to layer on top of that security, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, Rackspace is in a sort of a unique position. We have the scale to go out and pick and buy and acquire or just bring together the best technologies out there. There is sort of a critical mass that is required to get to the point where you can afford some of these security technologies. You can afford to run a 24/7 security operations center. You can afford to hire a top-notch chief security officer and a security team. And we've hit that scale long ago, and now we can apply those capabilities back to our customers. We're not so big that we don't pay attention to our customers and have regular dialogue with them, but we're not so small that we don't have the wherewithal to really bring that security capability to bear. And that security practice is really bringing all the things that we've learned, all the lessons, all the technology that we use, that we find practical and useful in the defense of our own hosting provider and in cloud operations, and really applying that now in a product form to our customers. And the beauty of that is that it's not a once and done point in time kind of a solution. This is an evolving solution because security is evolving. So if there are new capabilities that make their way onto the market in the form of one of these venture-backed companies, well, we can bring that in. We can apply that to our customers, and we can do the legwork to go make sure that it actually does, really help solve the problem.
Well, and one of the things that was mentioned in the first prediction, that you're going to have really flat budgets. There's not really going to be a lot more resource to tap into for your IT needs, and security being on the rise, to be able to execute well against security without having to hire up a bunch of staff really kind of hits on both of those. But
absolutely right. I mean, I think that it's no different here than it is with the cloud expertise. Security expertise may even be harder to come by, because it's one of those things that's almost a specialization that you have to go. You have to do a lot of studying. You have to actually spend a lot of time in the trenches.
The experience
goes a long way. And I think San Antonio, Rackspace's headquarters, is a great place for security expertise, because we've got military bases on every corner of us around here, and a lot of the Air Force Cyber Command, the headquarters for cybersecurity defense and offense, maybe, right here in San Antonio, Texas. This is where they are born and bred and really grow up in their security experience. So we've got a lot of those folks coming through, and also just the community around here. You really sort of you have to have that strong community to build up that experience, and it's something that we kind of take for granted here, but it's very powerful to have it in our backyard.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Going through my list here, data.
Real quick, right before we do that, I just wanted to say hey to everybody else that's watching. This is the Rackspace Office Hours podcast. We're here with John Engates, our Rackspace CTO, and he's going through, he's 40% of the way through his 2016 predictions for the cloud. We've already covered security as a service and IT talent staffing issues, and we're going to go on and talk a little bit more here. But if you're watching and you want to join the conversation, you can use the hashtag CloudQA to reach out to us on Twitter. We'll see those. Hey, Faisal. Thanks for watching. And if you are also watching on on Google Plus, there's a question and answer application that you can use. So it's you're able to ask questions that way, and we'll answer them live on the air. Thanks, Liz. We practice so weekly. So all right. So John, what's next?
Well, let me just stop for 1 second and actually frame up again the predictions. We do this every year. This year, actually, it was a little bit harder for me, because some of the things that I had said last year are still in play. Some of the things that I predicted and made very specific predictions on, they don't play out within a 12-month period perfectly. Sometimes they take 18 months. Sometimes they take 2 years. Sometimes they go a little faster, a little slower. But the trend is clear, and the trend is continuing to go in the same direction. So what I thought this year we'd sort of do, and you'll see this if you read the blog post, but it was essentially kind of looking back a little bit, every bit as much as looking forward. We were kind of looking back to see how things had progressed, things that were moving forward. And data is one of those that seems to be just constantly marching forward. The use of data, the data management challenges, the competitive advantage that you get by harnessing data within your business. And that's really what I focused on, is the fact that the companies that are moving to the cloud are doing so because they oftentimes have a data problem. They have a data opportunity and a data problem that goes with it, and they are trying to figure out how to monetize data. If you look at the biggest companies in the world of IT or technology, people like Google, people like Facebook, people like Microsoft, those are people that have figured out a way to collect data, use data, make it more valuable, share it more efficiently. Um, just really, they become masters of data management and analytics. And I think every company is starting to wake up to that. Many companies are building new businesses on that concept of, look, we're going to become a data company. Many other companies are transforming themselves from what they used to be to being more of a data company. We see that, very much in the case of like Uber, for example.
Right.
Uber is one I used in my blog post. It's a great example of somebody who took a old world industry and added technology and data and really changed the game fundamentally. They know who their riders are. They know where their riders are based on GPS technology. They know how frequently they utilize the service, and they can probably predict when they're going to use the service again. They know how to organize their drivers based on all of that. They know how to efficiently locate people. They can change the pricing model. We saw this over New Year's. I mean, they fundamentally pissed a lot of people off, but it is a very savvy business move to change your pricing based on demand in real time, right? And so, they're going to work through those things where they don't, they balance the making people mad versus the making the things more efficiently versus making money. But ultimately, the data is at the heart of that, and the analytics that go on top of that data, and then just the management challenge of harnessing all of that data is really the thing that most companies are grappling with.
Well, they found a double-edged sword. They could both incentivize their drivers to be more available in those times where they might otherwise not want to be available to meet the demand, and then everyone benefits from having a ride when maybe you ought not be driving, and all the other components around their business. So they found a lot of uses for the data they had. And one thing I realize when I visit customers, I work with a lot of our enterprise customers that aren't traditional IT shops. They're based, the IT groups that I work with within those businesses are, in San Francisco, like you'd expect. But you look at the brand on the door, and it's not what you think of when you think of, oh, that's a tech shop. Well, they're doing a lot of really interesting things with technology.
Well, a great example, there's a company called Under Armour. Under Armour makes clothing and shoes. And they're a Rackspace customer. They have been for a long time. They are becoming a data company. They are trying to instrument their customers' lives with things like Map My Fitness and Map My Ride and Map My Run. They acquired that company a while back. They have technology now that, like the Fitbits, that's a different company, but the example is everybody knows is the Fitbit or the Apple Watch, where you're now able to measure your heart rate or measure your fitness level or track your workouts, calories, all of those things. Well, that's all data, and that data is going into a database somewhere, and the databases are typically in the cloud. And then the analytics sometimes are played back to the users. The user now has a very clear view of all of their fitness levels and all of that. The benefit to the company is a stickier relationship with their customer. They now know more about their customer. They know probably their name, whereas if they used to sell shoes in a department store, you didn't know the name of the customer. Well, now Nike or Under Armour or Reebok or whoever, with these apps and with these relationships they're building, they can target their customers better. They can create longer-term, stickier relationships with those customers. They can sell them more stuff. They can recommend new products and services. They can tie those products and services in with other brands and other fitness activities. It could be CrossFit. It could be something like that. All of that goes together, and the people that do that better with data and with analytics and with technology are the ones that seem to be coming out on top, and at least in terms of what I saw over the holidays, people what they were excited about, what they're at CES last week, the wearable space is just blowing up.
Well, I was going to mention that. I mean, Under Armour, one of our customers, they released a large kit of, excuse me, I knew that was going to happen. A large kit of tools, right? That are all wearables, and that's all going up to a cloud, and it's all being used to get to know the customer better, to advise the customer better.
That's right.
Well, there's a big difference in just marketing your entire catalog to somebody and then finding maybe someone's a trail runner. There's specific parts of your catalog you can target to them and not waste the marketing on the people who are going to just run on a treadmill or who are going to be doing more urban running or bicycling.
Yeah.
And so to be able to target to your audience, means you can be able to convert those at a higher rate and increase the bottom line and the satisfaction stickiness of those customers.
So with this prediction, I was really essentially predicting that this trend will continue. More and more companies this year, probably the vast majority of companies that want to survive in the next 5 or 10 years, they will wake up to the fact that they have to become data companies. Last year, I went to the New Relic conference again. We go almost every year, and you were there. We would broadcast from there. And New Relic has really started to transform their own business from a monitoring and management tool to becoming a data analytics and really becoming a data company themselves. And their products and their tools are helping their customers surface those insights from, and the product's called Insights. No coincidence
Just
there.
apropos.
Yeah. But the point is that they are helping their customers find that important data, that interesting data, that useful data in the streams of transactions that are already flowing through the business. It could be an e-commerce company that doesn't really realize how valuable some of the aspects of the data that's flowing through their system really are to them. But if you can surface those, if you can get them in front of the business user, if you can maybe even get them in front of the end user, then it becomes much, much, much more valuable of a company. And I think that's really the trend and the prediction there.
Absolutely, it's something we've talked about a couple of times on the show before. Is putting, I think you put a very good tag on it, putting that data to work.
That's right.
It allows you to make the right decisions, to know what questions to ask, and to make those right decisions. So.
That's right.
Well, and there's more and more of those data points available. I mean, to kind of take a step back towards the Under Armour conversation. I mean, it used to be, you had a pedometer, you knew how many steps you took, and then they started adding, your heart rate, and now we have gyros and altimeters,
sensors,
and all sorts of other bits of data that, when you contextualize them all, it creates a much clearer picture of what's going on, and that clearer picture gives you a much richer view of your customer base and can help you interact with them in a much clearer and more effective way. So
that's right.
There's just more and more that can be tracked and more that can be extrapolated from it.
And it will also open up a ton of new opportunities for businesses to really be created. I mean, this is a revolution that we're kind of going through here, where what used to be a company, might be, they might be put out of business by a new startup that figures out some. I mean, Uber is doing that. The first, really. I guess the first victim of this is the San Francisco yellow taxi. They're bankrupt now. They're declaring bankruptcy, and that's because of a upstart company who is harnessing data very powerfully to make the customer experience better. And I think that will happen everywhere. That will happen in every industry. If you think you're immune, I will almost bet you that you're not, and you need to really get ahead of that curve a little bit and start to take advantage of some of the technologies and the trends that are out there.
And if you don't, someone else will.
Somebody else will. Somebody else will definitely Uber you.
Yeah.
All right. So the next prediction, it dovetails a little bit into this because I just mentioned sensors, but the Internet of Things is really a trend that, again, picking up steam. It's not one that maybe I think I even picked up on this last year as well with the sensors, but it seems to be now we're going fast enough that people are in some ways maybe pulling a little bit on the brake and saying, let's slow down just a little bit. Do we have the infrastructure in place? Do we have the security in place? Do we have the standards in place? Am I going to go down a path and wire my house or wireless my house with all these technologies and sensors, and then find out that I've made the beta
HD,
choice?
DVD.
Yeah, the HD. I was going to say beta version. You're in a different era than me, right?
I thought I was going to win, but no, Blu-ray won.
In the old days, it was beta versus VHS. Now it's HD, DVD versus Blu-ray. I'm sure there's a lot of these things that are out there. I mean, even just the Apple Android ecosystem. We see these two ecosystems battling it out, and they left poor BlackBerry on the side of the road, right? I mean, that's what you're battling with now with some of these IoT standards, and people want to know that the infrastructure is reliable, that it's safe. This is your home you're talking about. This is your telecommunications, your connectivity, your security, your physical security, not just your cyber security, but this could be the sensor that's on your front door that's keeping the
Well,
bad guys.
it literally was. It was the Ring doorbell.
That's right.
Had a issue where people would come by, undo the doorbell itself, and reset the router or reset the unit, and then that would turn it into a dumb web service. You could reconnect, and it would tell you, "Hey, here's your password." So
Wow. I hadn't heard that one.
well, they found it, and they patched it within 2 weeks of the researchers finding it and reporting it. So that's an example of somebody that is very actively updating their and as we move more towards standards like you mentioned and interoperability, that's going to be the key right there to keep those. If we find a bug, then you can just wipe it out as soon as possible and get it patched.
Yeah. So I think this prediction is not super specific here, but my point with making it in the blog post was really that the industry is picking up speed, and with that, it's trying to bring more and more customers and users onto these IoT platforms. When I say IoT, I hope that everybody understands that, but I don't necessarily think it's that pervasive. It's an industry kind of acronym, but Internet of Things is just the idea that we're putting more devices onto the internet than ever before. In my home, for example, I took a little inventory. I mean, every TV has a Wi-Fi connection now. Every I have some switches now where I want to control lamps and lights and things like that. Those are now connected back to a hub. You've got light bulbs with like the Philips Hue that are connected to a hub that's connected to the internet. People have, I have a couple drones at home. The drones are connected to tablets that are connected to the internet. I mean, literally everything in our lives at home and even here at work are starting to require some sort of internet connection. That's where the term Internet of Things came from. It wasn't just people on the internet behind a computer anymore. It was devices. And those devices are talking to one another without human interaction. And that's really where the data challenge that we talked about in last prediction come from. All of these devices are spewing data, they're storing their data, and the hope from the consumer is that you're being good stewards of my data. You're storing it securely. You are not going to share it with people that I don't want you to share it with. So the privacy becomes a concern. That it's reliable enough that, like, one of the other problems with IoT is, what if the internet goes out? What if your broadband connection goes down? Is my house now out of order? I mean, can I not get into the house anymore? Can I not turn on the oven or the TV? Does my universal remote control stop working because it's not got the cloud connection anymore? All of those things are very real concerns, and they're things that the sophisticated user of these technologies is probably aware of and probably just said, I'm okay with it. But now you're talking about the next wave of adopters. The early adopter is willing to take some of the pain, but the next wave of adopters, I saw it at CES that Samsung, the massive Korean television maker, they're putting a product that they call what is it? Smart. I'm gonna have to look on my phone. Smart Things.
Yeah.
Smart Things. You guys know Smart Things? It's a hub for your IoT world. All your switches, all your lights can talk to Smart Things. They're going to embed a Smart Things hub into almost every new, of a certain range, certain new Samsung TVs.
Yeah.
And that's going to put IoT, kind of a, at least a placeholder for IoT, into many more homes.
Like a command center on the TV.
Yeah, it's like
there,
it's the base station for all of those things. And so, without knowing it, many consumers are going to get a Smart Things hub in their home, without having to make that choice, without having to go down to Best Buy and buy the starter kit. They're going to have one sort of show up with the TV, which is connected to the Wi-Fi, which is connected to the internet 24 hours a day. And again, that consumer now is more of a mainstream consumer, not the early adopter crowd that knows all this stuff, but the one that says, look, I'm going to configure this, honey, and show you how I can turn on the light bulbs. And then he kind of sets it up and he forgets about it.
Yeah.
And that's a risk. It's a challenge to educate that consumer rapidly enough to have them understand what that means to them. And now they've got not just one device, but they've got a number of them, and they may not talk to one another. And now you're in the business of sort of really managing all of that. Now, I'm a big proponent of this. I love this technology. I've got my house, Wi-Fi to the hilt and all these devices. But at the same time, I recognize that we do need some standards. Google's working on some. Google acquired Nest. I don't know if it's last year or the year before, but Nest is a big part of their IoT. That's their entry point into the home. The Nest thermostat, and then the
the drop cam, yeah.
the drop cam, which became the Nest camera. That is now another piece of that puzzle. And Apple's going to be competing for that same territory with the Apple Home Kit, the Health Kit for your biometrics and your your medical devices and whatnot. Those are really battles for the territory around the standards and the integration and the interoperability of these devices.
Well, then there are people who have tried to be the connective tissue. So there's the if this then that, which is a recipe creator where you can integrate these different things. There's all sorts of really interesting solutions that people have come up with where you mentioned Hue a little bit earlier, the Philips lighting tools. Well, you can connect your geographic location through something like Foursquare or some of these other apps. If I check in at work, it'll flash the lights at home to let the family know I made it safe, or whatever the case may be.
I saw a really practical one is, Nest also has, and I failed to mention the smoke detectors.
Yeah.
So the smoke detectors can trigger to turn off the thermostat so that you're not blowing smoke around the house. They can also trigger the Nest through something like IFTTT to basically flash the lights in conjunction with those thermostats. So you get like a red flashing light in your bedroom. You've got the noise going off. You've got the air conditioner shutting down. All of that is automation, and
Carbon
that
monoxide too.
Yeah, so very, very powerful stuff. I mean, I think it's one of those things where the interoperability of these devices is going to be the big opportunity for these companies to make it easy, make it simple, make it safe, and make it secure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so again, CES was a big deal last week. Virtual reality was a prediction that I made last year. I'm excited about this technology. You're seeing more and more examples of VR. I think I mentioned Samsung. They have their I don't know what's the brand name or the model name of theirs?
Samsung is the Gear VR, I believe.
That's right, and it goes along with their phones.
Right.
But it's basically bringing, the first taste of virtual reality to a lot of people. The first time you put on a pair of those goggles, it's kind of like an eye-opening. I mean, no pun intended, but it's like an eye-opening experience to see that for the first time. When you see augmented reality, where you see somebody holds up a little card, and all of a sudden a little dinosaur, or a little car is on, rotating on top of that card. That's pretty cool. And most people haven't experienced that. Most people we're all geeks, and we probably see this stuff earlier than most, but it really is fantastic when you give somebody that tool. I saw an article the other day where a doctor was visualizing I don't know if it was a heart or a brain or a tumor or something. They were trying to really see how to attack this problem, and they used a very low cost, probably something like the Samsung Gear, to visualize in 3D what their radiology had. They can slice and dice you with a picture nowadays, but really visualizing that in 3D is
to
difficult.
get inside and see.
And they did it, and they helped this girl. And that's going to go to everybody. Every mainstream company is going to start to have an opportunity now to bring that to their customers and their users.
Yeah. Well, it's actually Google Cardboard has the most interesting, and I think
that's right.
I actually have it in my backpack. So here we go. So this is the Google Cardboard. It's literally cardboard, and so you just pop it out and do a little bit of origami, and it turns into a nice little VR machine, right?
Pair of goggles, basically.
Basically. Yep. And man, my kids, I got a 5-year-old, and he just loves this thing. But they just put it on, and you look really silly, but you can see what's going on. And I actually heard today that Lowe's has one of these dispensers in their store, and in some of their stores, not all of them obviously, but they are selling cardboard so that people can go in and say, I would like to have these cabinets in my kitchen. Okay, let's see what it's going to look like in my kitchen, and look around and see what that space is going to be. So, I mean, that's a
there's a company here in San Antonio that's building a set of goggles that are similar. It's a company called Merge VR, and they're based down at Geekdom downtown, and they're really there's going to be a ton of these. The most famous, the one that just literally launched officially last week.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is that's for the higher end of the spectrum. It's expensive. You got to have a machine that's really powerful. But my point in making this prediction is the prices are going to come down very rapidly. Cardboard couldn't get much cheaper, right? And the goggles are going to be pervasive. They're going to be available almost everywhere. Every GameStop, every Best Buy is going to have these goggles. Every phone vendor and manufacturer is going to want to tie it together. Every app store is going to have a plethora of 3D enabled or VR enabled or augmented reality assisted applications. And I think it's kind of going to really hit mainstream if it doesn't go the way of 3D televisions, which kind of went kind of like well, it's a gimmick, but it's not really for me. But I don't think that's the case. I think this is more of a useful tool. It's something that gives you an experience that you can't get any other way. It's not just making it a little bit better, it's making it a lot better in many cases. So
well, I think just augmented reality is enough to really go above and beyond in being useful. I mean, for training, to be able to bring someone else into a situation, I could see AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whoever having great training for car repair.
The car repair manuals, the Chilton manuals, they go into your where's eyeglasses, right?
Where's this widget? What tool do I need to get that bolt off? All this stuff could just be right there. It'd be insane.
Yeah.
And
medical, it will happen big time in surgery or in the battlefield. People that are medics trying to save somebody in a trauma situation will have the access to the best technology, the best expertise on how to do that, and it'll be right there in the goggle. Goggles are going to come to you're seeing it in helmets for motorcycle riders. You're seeing it in skiers and bicyclists. That's kind of like the mainstream where we're seeing that first. But I think that it's just going to go to so many more places and industries than we even can predict right now. It's going to be in your car. I mean, think about augmented reality on your front windshield. It's basically going to be like a HUD. Yeah, that's right. And you're going to be able to see which restaurants as you drive down the road, which locations.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to get data about potentially other drivers. If you're friends with somebody like on Waze, the Waze app where you're friends with, that could potentially be something where you could see people on the road that are also users of Waze. That'd be pretty cool, right? And I think that's just a matter of time and getting the technology embedded in our world.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really interested to see, like you mentioned, augmented reality. I think is going to be used by many consumers. It's going to be standard in vehicles, I think, and then that virtual reality is going to be
entertainment
3D,
and
exactly,
all that kind of stuff. The gaming is going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Movies, making movies more interactive. But even there, you've got a lot of work to do to get that whole chain of events that has to happen. It's not just about the goggles. It's about the production. It's about the infrastructure. And that was really what my prediction was about, was where does all that data get stored?
Exactly.
Where does it get streamed from? Where do we got to have strong connectivity, just like in the IoT example. We've got to have good connectivity because 3D is only as good as your content or your stream of video.
The
or
weakest
game.
link in the chain is gonna pull it all down. So absolutely.
I'm trying to think if I had any other big predictions in my list.
In there, no, I think that's all 5 of them, right? Yeah, that's all of them. So we've got through there. One thing that I wanted to do that we kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, Robert Scoble, our futurist, commented on Facebook a little bit about Nvidia and their move to the cloud and some of the great stuff that's going to be there, that's going to be powering the machine learning and things like that are coming down the pipe. So.
Well, look, I think Nvidia, if you don't know them, they make graphics processors.
Right.
They make, if you're a gamer, they make the GPU that goes in your computer and allows your 3D rendering of your game to happen very real time. They also make embedded processors. They make machines that allow, essentially what they're allowing for is just massive numbers of calculations per second, much faster than a typical CPU in a computer can do. They can just jam a lot of horsepower into a very small space. And you need that kind of horsepower to do certain kinds of activities. You mentioned machine learning. Machine learning is basically computers using I'm not an expert on this, so I'm gonna give you my layman's view on machine learning, but it's essentially adapting algorithms to the world around us in terms of it could be image processing, it could be trying to do predictive analytics around some sort of outcome in terms of the stock market or something like that. Well, to do those kind of calculations, you have to have a lot of processing power. The more data points you have, the more inputs to that calculation you have, the more processing power you have. And they've optimized now with a lot of these Nvidia chips to do these kind of processing tasks much, much faster than a typical Intel CPU or traditional processor. Now, the thing is that technology will, when Scoble says it's in the cloud, I think he means, and I don't know specifically.
Well, he's watching now. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Scoble, how are you? So I'm predicting what he means is they're making it accessible to more people by making it a cloud accessible service, but that's just going to, again, open up the floodgates to more opportunities to use this technology. Whenever technology becomes more accessible, whenever the price comes down, more people want to use it, more people need more expertise on it. This is why some of this stuff is part of our prediction, is because we're in the business of making some of these technologies easier to use. On a personal note, I mean, I'm fascinated with self-driving cars. I know Scoble drove something that has a whole lot of autonomy, Mercedes out to Vegas for the CES, but Nvidia also announced a processing unit that can be embedded in the vehicle. It was designed to be rugged and self-contained, other than the cooling loop that you need to cool the thing, because processors make a lot of heat. But cars have a nice cooling loop. They have that.
They do.
They have a cooling loop.
You got a radiator already.
So the good part is that now that technology is going to be embedded potentially in the vehicle to enable autonomous driving. You need massive machine learning capability. You need processing power that most of us don't even dream of to get that car to make those kind of decisions in real time and to keep us safe.
Well, high quality AI is going to require that kind of processing.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's one of the things that Ubiquity is going to be really helpful towards, is people are going to be able to actually apply some of the things that they're working on in theory towards AI in real time with some of this democratized compute power.
That's right.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And that's also, again, why as we started out this conversation, we were talking about multi-cloud. I mean, companies will not stand still and wait for every piece of technology that they want to use to come to their favorite cloud. They're going to use this. They're going to piece it together. If Nvidia launches a cloud service, they can tie that together with their Rackspace services and their Amazon services and their Microsoft Azure services, and maybe something else from sales data from Salesforce.com. Whatever it is, that is really what we mean by multi-cloud. It's going to be a best of breed kind of model where people are picking the right technology for the job. They're not standing still and kind of waiting for it to come to them. They're going to go find it. They're going to go get that data or that capability wherever they need to.
There's all sorts of purpose-built tools, and the more advantage you can take of the things that are, honed and specific to that specific market.
That's right.
You're going to want to use that, but you have that are going to be using a variety of those different offerings.
Every opportunity I get to talk to our customers, I ask for them to bring their wish list of things that they're looking forward to. What are you trying to utilize? What are you trying to take advantage of that you feel like either tension around, you don't know enough to know what you need to know to get there, or maybe you feel like it's too much of a risk. If you're kind of an early adopter, you might feel the pain of that bleeding edge, and I think that's where these kind of opportunities, if you have that kind of feedback, I love to hear from our customers. I love to hear through the through whatever venue or whatever channel we have. But this is what Rackspace is about, is trying to get a step or two ahead of our customers and be the person that gets in the way of that bleeding edge and sort of stops that pain, but helps you adopt those technologies as quickly as possible.
We have an army of insatiable learners.
We do.
In this company, and so as we find new places to be helpful or things that are just interesting, exciting that may be helpful, we have people who are plugging in and learning. I mean, people who on their own time, because they're curious, are getting highly skilled in some of these
That's right.
brand new bleeding edge areas that they can then bring to the workplace and apply to our customers' needs.
That's why it's cool to have Scoble on the team. He's out there scouring the world for the next new cool thing, and then he brings it back and gets us excited about it,
Absolutely.
and we figure out how to make it practical and useful behind the scenes here at Rackspace. So.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's great. It really is fascinating to learn all about all of the new technologies that are in there. I mean, it's almost like that fire hose analogy. There's so much coming in, but then to be able to have somebody like Robert Scoble who's out there kind of distilling that down for us and trying to put our attention toward the ones that are going to be most important and kind of prioritizing for us. That's great. And this is why I love talking to you every year about your even more distilled down cloud predictions. So,
how much time do we have?
We have up to 10 minutes.
Up to 10 minutes. Well, let's talk about drones for a second.
Mm-hmm.
One of my other favorites. And this has nothing to do with cloud technology here at Rackspace, but it does in some way.
It does, yeah.
It does because it's connected. It's a connected device. It's one of those things that literally is streaming constant data down, whether it's GPS data or sensor data or whatever, to typically nowadays it's an iPad or some sort of tablet device via the remote control.
Right.
But I think drone technology was another thing that was on display at CES in a big way. A lot of new faces in the drone community. It used to be just DJI everything, DJI, that was the big maker. But now you've got a few new entrants into the market. I saw Intel was making a big investment in drone technology with a company called, I think it's Unique, YUNEEQ, something like that. But I don't.
All the other URLs.
I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I say it.
Yeah.
But the point is that obviously, if a company like Intel sees opportunity with drones, if Amazon sees opportunity with drones, if Google sees opportunity with drones, that's a future we're headed to. Just like the autonomous car, you're going to probably have a lot of autonomous drones in the environment. And I don't know how many of our viewers are drone fanatics, but it is something to get familiar with. It's something that it's exciting, it's fun, it's interesting, but it also I would encourage you to be safe about it, because it's one of those things that probably everybody got one for Christmas and wants to fly it. I heard a number of people crash them. The moment they flew them, day one, day zero, it's
into
like
the Christmas tree,
into the Christmas tree, or into the cat, or into something. But be safe about this. Be responsible about it. It's one of those things that you really are responsible for what you do. I know that the federal government just instituted a new registration.
That's right.
Requirement for drones. So make sure you register your drone if you want to be a legal drone operator. You got to do that now. But I think this technology is just demonstrating the power of a computer in every kind of a device. I mean, it's the ultimate demonstration of this technology, mobile or miniaturization, now in the form of a flying device, right? I mean, we can put it in our cars, now we can put it in the air, and it really is driving down the cost of a lot of the components that made that possible.
Well, you look at many of us have living grandparents who, when they were born, flight was a thing that was futuristic, right? It was just taking off.
That's right.
Don't pardon the pun. But it was just taking off, and now, like you said, we have the internet in our pocket, and one of the things it can do is fly a
and
tiny little helicopter.
And it can fly those things without you even interacting.
Yeah, you just say go over here.
You can set a flight path for the drone, and it'll fly and do circles or follow you or do all of those kind of things. And I think it's just a perfect example of all of these technologies coming together. Lots of sensors, lots of processing power now in the sky, a lot of miniaturization, battery technology getting better. If these things wouldn't be working well at all if we hadn't gotten to lithium polymer batteries and really high-tech stuff. And that's, again, the same thing that's making electric cars possible, the advances in battery technology. And so, as I think about what that means to all of us, it's just, keep looking forward, keep thinking about what your business could do to advance your user experience, make it more exciting, make it more interesting, make it more sticky, make it safer, make it more secure. Those are all things that customers are looking for. Engagement in some way is really going to be the thing that sets apart customers or companies from winners and losers, right? It's going to be the people that can engage their users keep them excited, keep rolling out new features. That's the other cool thing about a lot of these things is you just get a download of a whole bunch of new features without paying for anything. And then, that's a double-edged sword in itself, but it's also a way to keep your users happy, excited, and engaged, and maybe sell them an upgrade down the road when they feel like they want the next new thing.
Well, it's that putting the data to work. I mean,
That's
there's
right.
so many things that are just pushing massive amounts of data back to their companies, and the companies that use that to their benefit are the ones that are going to succeed and not get Ubered, as as you coined earlier. So yeah, we don't want to see anybody get Ubered.
So did you look much at that single person quadricopter?
The one that no,
that was
yeah,
thrown
I
out
looked
so
at it a little
widely?
bit, but I kind of dismissed it as like, okay, that's some, crazy guy with an idea that got, enough funding to go build this thing. But I don't know if I'd get in one of those things at this point. It's a little too early.
I'd be too afraid of the blades chopping my legs off or something. The thing didn't have any covers or
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
There was another article earlier in the year that came out about I think it was a ambulance version of that same kind of thing for dense urban populations, where you'd fly a medic out, you would land them someplace that's hard to get to within an urban environment, or get an ambulance to. That medic would triage and then set the victim in the ambulance copter quadra vehicle, and then that would go back to the hospital, which I mean today doesn't seem incredibly realistic to implement as is, but with all of the additional,
give it a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't mean to dismiss it as it's not going to happen. It is going to happen. I mean, these technologies will become safer and more reliable. It's just at this stage, I don't think I'd get into it. I don't.
We're still at that Orwell and Wilbur Wright phase of things,
right.
where you're taking your life into your own hands every time you take off. Yeah.
Pilot training is literally in the air.
Yeah. But the good news is, though, that the technology is, it's theoretically possible. You've got the computing power now, and we talked about, self-driving cars. Well, a self-driving drone is probably easier because there's less to get in the way, right? I mean, in some ways, it's an easier problem to solve. We've already got a lot of the infrastructure for it. The GPS is there. The guidance systems for a lot of the technologies that you see in the military are already very reliable. You've got autonomous drones flying over battlefields today. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's just a matter of, making it something that's safe enough for a human, for a consumer, not just a military pilot. Those, they take more risks, but a consumer that's going to work every day, it has to be pretty darn bulletproof and safe, and you have a lot of fail safes and have a lot of reliability testing done. And then you've got now to think about how does that impact as the drone regulations that they put out, how does it impact the commercial aviation community? How do you put somebody in the sky that isn't a licensed pilot, who's gone through hours and hours and hours of training and lots of simulator time and all that stuff? How do you now just throw a consumer in one of these devices and put him in the sky?
Best of luck to you.
Yeah. And that thing didn't even have controls. It was more like
it's a box.
It was more like you get in and it takes off and flies and drops you off somewhere. And they said if it had a problem, somebody from the headquarters would come in and take over this thing. It's like, okay,
unless that guy's on coffee break.
Yeah, I don't know if I want
trouble,
that at this stage. But it really, I mean, I'm glad people are pushing forward with these ideas. I mean, it is going to revolutionize our world. Self-driving cars, I think, are one of those things that it really is going to change things very rapidly once those get on the road. People kind of underestimate what that's going to mean, but there may be a day when you're not allowed to drive your own car. There may be a day when the safety regulations dictate that you have to have somebody, have the computer, because it's so much safer, so much more, follows the rules, actually.
No, I'm fully on board with that one. Just personally, but so that's great. So thank you, John, for spending an hour with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You continue to be one of our favorite guests, and we appreciate you taking a bit of time out of your day to chat with us. Again, the cloud predictions is one of my favorite things that we do here, and just to hear from you is these kind of distilled ideas of trends and ideas to look for. It's a great thing to kind of keep me on track throughout the year, and I think that it's a great service for our customers so that they can kind of understand some things to look for. I mean, to me, the biggest takeaway is put that data to work for you. I think that that's something that every single one of our customers could be doing better. So
there's
I'm
value in that data. It's there.
It's there.
Just make use of it.
And so that's one thing that I'm going to kind of take with me to try to instill in our customers as we go along the year. So thank you
for that.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. So it's good. All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for watching. This is the Rackspace Office Hours Hangout. We do this every week, live Thursdays at 1 p.m. Central Time. We are going to be broadcasting live from Geekdom here in San Antonio. We mentioned them a little bit earlier. A great tech incubator where Techstars is. And so we're going to be talking to some of the people out there. Help Social, who are great friends of ours, kind of grew up here out of Rackspace. So really excited to see them again, and congrats on their big success out there. And then we've got a couple other shows lined up, so we'll be coming to you every Tuesday or Thursday. Every Thursday. You can tune in on Tuesday.
You can always watch the shows on Tuesday if you'd like. They're on YouTube.
Yeah, they are. They are on YouTube, and you can also listen to an audio-only podcast at ohpodcast.com. Subscribe to that. Listen to it in the car, in the gym, wherever you want to listen to a podcast. So it's out there. All right. So on that note, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.